Hey there! Popping in a second time today. So, apologies to anyone who was watching that live stream. I spent a solid 30 minutes thinking I was speaking to, I think there were about like two or three. Let me see. Ooh, the stats just came in. Yes, there were two people that I thought I was speaking to for 30 whole minutes. As it turns out, it was just me. I muted myself, which I do when I first start streaming. I have the mic turned off. While I have the intro slide up. That's that starting soon page. That's at the very start of this video. And so I would think at some point in there, one of my two viewers at the time would have said something. This would also explain why there were a couple popping in and out, and that might be a good reason why. If you see somebody who is basically talking to themselves with no audio, why would you stick around? For those two who did stick around, thank you. I'm sorry you got absolutely nothing out of it. But I appreciate you for being there nonetheless. That really does warm the heart to know that there are people who will stick it out through all of the tech issues. I have said it before, I am not a tech person. Um, this is why my replays are unedited and what you get is what you get. Um, but I do apologize that I didn't. Oh, hi! Okay, so and now I know for a fact my chat does work. Hi, Matanda, thank you. I'm assuming my audio is working this time. Yes, awesome, wonderful. Okay, so oh, thank goodness. Yeah. So again, sorry if you're watching the replay and like you're wondering why there was a later live stream than the scheduled one, this would be why. I will be after this. I will go back and I will delete out the audio-less video. I mean, I suppose I could go back and try to dub it, and that'll be like hilarious because I will not have remembered anything that I said verbatim. Um, so that could be fun. uh, but I think I'm just gonna go ahead and delete this out, and then none of us have to ever be embarrassed by it again, except for when I do it again, because I probably will. That said, let me go back and try to repeat the main stuff that came up. If nothing else, at least get those questions that I had said I answered. Let me pull that screen back up. I gotta move things around. There we go. All right, so real quick before I get started, I do want to point out that so the Monday sessions are typically Mondays 1 p.m. They're typically 30 minutes, and then there's a Saturday session that's at 5 p.m. Um, that session needs to go away. It would be funny. Maybe I should try doing my like horribly barely elementary school level Ukrainian with it. It'd be very, very bad. I'll just like start repeating all those, Duolingo phrases at it and have that be the overlay. Um, that's about my skill level. All right. So these sessions, the Saturday session is going away because my busy season's kicking in, and I'm realizing Saturdays just simply will not work. So I'm gonna let those go. Um, I do have some polls up because before I make any big changes, I did kind of want to get some feedback on it. So there are polls up. If you missed my Saturday session, I talked about it, so I'll just kind of repeat it again real quick, as well as give you where the current numbers are standing. So far, one of the options is to simply move that Saturday session to a different day. So still have 2 live streams per week. But just have it on a different day. If I change the day, I'm also gonna have to change the time, so it'll probably be earlier in the day, um, possibly around the same time. Um, that one has a couple of votes. I think I was up to I think it's roughly about second place right now in the polling, the collective poll. The second one is the Mondays only, but longer, so this session, but instead of it being a 30-minute session, it would be either like a 60 or 90-minute session. and we just have that one live stream per week. That one currently is in the lead, not by much, but it's currently in the lead. The other option that is kind of running in around third place is a uh, one per week, so one live stream per week, but a different day, so not Monday. So that one's also kind of got a little bit of weight behind it. So it could still go either way on these. The other two options were like no live stream. So I want to say thank you to those who have voted, because so far out of everybody who's voted, nobody has told me to stop doing these. So yay. So live streams will continue. We just need to work out whether they will be once a week during my busy season, or if they're going to be still be twice a week. As for, there was the other option is other, and I did have one vote for other on, I think it was the Nextdoor version of the Nextdoor app version of the poll. And even though it said other, please specify, they never commented or sent me a message, so I have no idea what the other would be. But needless to say, there's only one vote for that currently, so I'm not gonna poke and prod at whoever that was to ask them for it. But that said, if you do want to have your voice heard in Twitch, you'll see it should be, I think you can, if you're on there now, you should be able to pull up the chat and see the polls there. On YouTube, you kind of have to click below where my name is, where it says like Evylyn Rose, Empowerment Guide, yada, yada, yada. You click that link, that takes you to the channel page, and then there's like a little navigation thing that says posts, and currently it's a top post there. And that's where, those are the quickest and easiest ways if you're watching this video right now, to get to either of those polls. They're also on the Messages in the Moonlight Discord channel, the Nextdoor app business page, where else? LinkedIn, and I think that's it. I still keep feeling like I posted this poll in one other place, and I, for the life of me, cannot remember where it is. But wherever it is, I have not looked at that one if there is another place. So I'm going to keep on the hunt for where I posted that. But again, right now, it looks like either keeping those clearing conversations, the Saturday session, just put on a different day and time, or making this Monday session longer, which obviously I have the time to do if I'm repeating this live stream right now. So that is very feasible for me. So if that is what you want, make sure you vote for that. If that's not what you want, please make sure you pop into one of those polls, have your voice heard, and that really helps me to make this decision. There's the decisions I think are a great idea, and then there's the decisions that are a much better idea for everybody. And I would much rather be part of that, making it work for everybody and not just me. I obviously only gave you guys options that fit what fits for me, so I have no excuse. So I want to hear what you guys have to say before I make the decision final. That said, make sure you vote on that before we get to Saturday session. So the Saturday at 5 p.m. is when I'm going to say, here's what all the numbers were, here's the path forward, and give you guys more details from there. So please make sure you vote in those polls. I'll mention this again briefly at the end when we get to the updates. And I'm going to dive into those questions that I've already sat here and answered. So it's like having a rehearsal. It was great. You guys all got to watch me rehearse in silence. Where was the first one that came up? Okay, so the first one that came up was from the Saturday session. I had talked about the differences between spells, rituals, and prayers. And then somebody kind of pushed back a little bit, and I appreciate that so much. They said last stream you said prayer was just petitions, but what about when they're not? Like charms, affirmations, and chants. So if you didn't see the session or you haven't watched it yet, the briefest of recaps, I was differentiating between spells, rituals, and prayers. And prayers, I, for the most part, said were kind of like when you're petitioning like a deity, a higher being, another entity, ancestors, spirits, what have you. The universe, whatever term, like the idea was there was some sort of petitioning or a conversation involved, was kind of my very brief explanation of prayers. So to this question about what about these other things, now obviously I was already differentiating between 3 words, so it was very my oversimplification was not this in depth, so that's why I really love that you asked me this. Um, so starting with the quick one that most people would recognize are our affirmations. These are those phrases that we repeat over and over and over again. Um, we see this everywhere, honestly, even within therapy sessions, in particular, like cognitive behavioral therapy or CBT. We get it's all about challenging thoughts. So in that process of breaking down your thoughts individually in these therapy sessions, what you come out with is like a thing you will say to yourself when that negative thought comes up. And so affirmations, that is an affirmation essentially. So they're designed where they're a thing you say to yourself, you repeat it, and it helps to challenge other thoughts, or create changes through that mental network, if you will. Um, and so affirmations are the most common ones people use. I personally would not define that as a prayer. Um, that said, they can definitely be part of or included in prayers. Um, and I've seen it done. I have done it myself. So yeah, absolutely, that could be considered prayer. Um, as for chants, these would be more likely what you would see some synonymous use of the term prayer and chant. Even on Messages in the Moonlight, my pages of all the pages that are there, I put chants and prayers, my small little collection that's on that site, all together on one page because there is a lot of overlap there. So chants they can be spoken, they can be like intoning, so just like the sounds, so not specifically words. They can be sung even. And so with chants, they're usually repetitive. They keep repeating it over and over again. So sometimes it is kind of like a prayer or an affirmation that gets repeated again and again and again and again. And sometimes these are used in different ways. They can be used for, maybe building up energy as part of uh, a larger working or intention. It can be used as a focal point. It can be used for reverence, which is where it really gets used as a prayer pretty often. Um, Chants can be, did I already say energy raising? So raising energy. This is where it's tricky that I just answered these questions like 30 minutes ago because I'm not sure what I just said versus what I said earlier, and hopefully I'm getting all the same information in together because I'm wording it completely differently. It's like you'll hear the same stories from me over and over again, but rarely will they be verbatim. Um, so with with those chants, again, that would be one where if somebody referred to a chant as a prayer, I would be like, yeah, sure, absolutely. Does it sound like a petition? Does it sound like a conversation? But it is also still prayer, right? So it still falls under that umbrella. Doesn't necessarily have to be. I still differentiate the two terms, but chants tend to go hand in hand with prayer. Charms, on the other hand, of course, there are charms. So, like this charm on my bracelet, or we get like the dangly charms, right? Quick, like interjected shout out this little treasure shop. One of the little crafters, artisans over there, she has like all these cute little phone charm things. That's where that one came from. But usually when we hear charms, that's what we think of. We think of like a physical little charm, right? But when we're talking about prayers, when we're talking about spells, and we say charm, we're usually talking, it's like a spoken spell almost. So they can come across very much like prayers, especially depending on how they're used, depending on are they short, are they long? Typically, charms are going to be short. The ways in which you use them, they very much come across as prayers. And if somebody asked me what I was doing, I probably would say, "Oh, I'm just praying." Um, so are charms prayers? No, I'd actually put charms under spells. Uh, but that is where that overlap starts to come in, where a lot of people do say, "Oh, well, spells and prayers are the same thing. We just call it something different." It's like, well, no, but also yes. And this would be the also yes kind of area. Charms are where we're getting into something that sounds like a prayer. If somebody overhears you and you are like not gonna come out with saying, just doing my witchy shit, then you're gonna say like, yeah, I'm praying. I'm just praying. Um, so charms tend to be a little quicker. But they do meet that magical framework that falls under spellcraft. Sorry, I need to get some water. Oh, and that would be my midday reminder to take my allergy medicine. All right, so hopefully that helped to answer the question. I feel like I answered it better the first time, so if you want me to, reach out one on one and give you a more direct response that's a little bit more thorough, I will. But yeah, so hopefully that helped clarify it. And again, that was a really good call out because it is. Nice you got in on the case. Okay, awesome. Um, let's see. The next question, what did I answer next? Oh, the second question I answered was, how do I set up a home altar or sacred space? And just like earlier, I'm going to say with sacred space part of it, I'm going to address this in terms of like a home altar, like a physical space that we would consider as sacred versus sacred space like in the magical ritual kind of stylation, because that would be a much more in-depth response and very different from how I'm going to answer your question about this home altar. So I am going to differentiate to answer this question. So in this case, when we're saying sacred space, we are specifically referring to like a home altar type space. All right. So for this, my biggest thing is start simple, start small, start within whatever your particular tradition, whether that is a specific religion, if it's a specific spiritual path. If you are just branching out and just getting started and you don't even know what, make it as super simple as possible. We're talking like maybe a small candle, some incense. I talked about some of the challenges that come out with incense is kind of always go simpler if you can. So for example, if you're like me and you live in a tiny little apartment and like, if you cook food on the stove, it's enough to set off the fire alarms. You might not want to do charcoal incense, because you're going to just produce way too much smoke that's more than likely going to set those off. So stick incense typically goes better. But if you are even more restricted in that, because either you or somebody you live with have sensitivities to smoke, or if you live in an area where it has to be like a smoke-free environment, you can't have any kind of smoke, including incense smoke. This is where you could get into spritz and sprays and oils and all these different things. And so maybe it's just you bring in like a little thing of flowers from the yard or something. So it can, whatever it is, just something that's a focal point for you. You can have a picture frame or just an image. Maybe you don't even have the frame yet. Like I said, start simple, start small. And that could be an image of, if the intention is a home altar for your ancestors, for example, it could be a picture of family or a particular family member. It could be a picture of a particular god or goddess or other entity that you would be focusing on for this altar. It could be literally anything. So whatever, depending on the specific intent of your home altar, start with those like 3 basic things. And the point to the candle and to the incense is mainly just to kind of settle into the space, lighting it. This is where those prayers and those charms and those affirmations come in. If you're still into incense but are more smoke sensitive, Japanese incense is pretty good. I find it produces way less smoke compared to the traditional stick kind. Yeah, so there are some incense out there that are phenomenal to help reduce the smoke, whether it's smoke sensitivity for the individual or smoke sensitivity for the fire alarms. They, I definitely have explored different things, even with the charcoal incense. I'm starting to see there is a shifting away from using those little round discs that like seem to be the only thing we could ever find from metaphysical shops, and now there's these like tiny little like square brickish type things that are also like the same basic thing. Like you light it, it gets hot, and then you sprinkle a little of what you put on it. But with the big round discs, like the size of those things, like we would sit there and we were just like clump, and then next thing you know, your room is filled to the brim with smoke. And those are great if you're outdoors, but when you're indoors, those things will suffocate you in the heartbeat. Um, I have definitely set my fire alarm off many times. So yeah, so getting outside of the American mindset of what's available. There's many different things we can look at. And then the Japanese incense, I have I have been around it. I have not purchased it myself. Um, that I can recall off the top of my head right now. It's been many years that I've worked with varying different types of incense. Um, but yes, less smoke. Less smoke is always better if we can help it. So circling back to it, so with the making it that space, and again, I want to reiterate, I know I haven't said it in this iteration, but I was saying in the earlier attempt at this live stream, you want to make sure that you have, how do I want to word this? Uh, don't focus on you. Focus on your intent for this altar space. Focus on what makes that space feel sacred to you. If you are on Witch Talk, or if you are on Insta or all those others where people are sharing like these big elaborate altars that they have around their houses, it's like they did not create those overnight. They did not start off with altars like that. They built up to that. Okay. It almost always, with everybody I've ever met, from my own personal experiences, it has always started small with like an image or even an object. So it could be as simple as, ooh, a little stone, right? This was a gift from a student, and yes, I do still have it. So if a former student of mine who happened to hand me this happens to see me in this video, yes, I still have it. Yes, it's still important to me, and yes, I'm going to keep it. Okay, all right, but this can be your object. So instead of an image, it could be something like a stone, something that is a focal point that represents something to you. It doesn't have to be that super fancy, like $500-600 statuette of something. And I'm like, half those things are overpriced for the materials being used in the first place, and the fact that they were casted and not handmade. But that's a whole other nerdy conversation. um, but so it can be simple, a candle, some incense, or like I said, it can be sprays or something else, something that just kind of uplifts in that same kind of way. If I go any more in depth, I'm going to go too in depth. So I'm going to leave it at that. Don't compare your starter altar to something that's super duper fancy. I worry about people who are like, oh yeah, I've only been at this for a couple months, and they have this big fancy elaborate setup, because it's like, that's just stuff. The best way to do it is always start small, because every object is more and more meaningful in that way. So, oh, okay. I have a desktop altar I've been using since day one. It's on my tiny decorative tray for my brother's wedding, and someday I'll make it bigger. But the tiny one's really useful. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And as you do this, you will inevitably end up with more and more altars. Um, like I started with the basic, like, think those tripod. And it wasn't my first, but that's the one that I had, like, I seem to have had for the longest, was one of those cheesy little wooden not like, I call it wooden. It's like, well, it's technically made of wood. But those round tripod tables, you just drape like a little cloth over top. Um, and on that note, when it comes to things like cloth, like tablecloths and altar cloths and all that stuff, reuse things. Like if you have like an old sheet or something like that, you can use that for your altar like cloth. It doesn't have to be some fancy, like $50 tapestry that you purchased at such and such a place. Can you have those? Yes, absolutely. But it doesn't have to be. Start small, start simple. From the environmentalist perspective, especially if your particular tradition that you are honoring has any sort of um, earth awareness or sustainability as part of its value system, whether you say it is or isn't earth centered. If it is at all environmentalist valued, then reuse, repurpose, make use of all those little things. Kind of like, your jar from your pasta sauce that you made last night can wash that out and that becomes like the flower vase that you use because you can't burn the incense, right? So repurpose is definitely a big thing. When you're first starting out with it. And again, as you progress, maybe you start making things. Maybe you start having maybe you have friends or family who make things and they start to make these things for you and stitch beautiful patterns. My needlework is terrible, but I could crochet you a scarf. um, and so little things like that will all get you started. I know I'm kind of rambling on more than I did earlier. Yes, making stuff is definitely a favorite. The stuff I have made definitely feels more purposeful to me. That said, I don't necessarily display my self-made things. Um, as for where to put them, yes, like as Matana was saying, like a desktop altar, things like that. So you can have it right on your desktop. It can just be like a little corner space. It can be a shelf on a bookshelf. If you're not like me and have an entirely too many books, I've reached the point where I have literal stacks. So like right behind me here, so like down here is like my dog's crate that's like 5 times the size it needs to be for her size. And on top of it are multiple stacks of books, and I believe they are roughly to like here. So the top of the crate is about right here, and the top of the the highest stack I think it's like about right here right now, and there's multiples of them because my dozen or so, well, not quite a dozen, maybe half a dozen or so bookcases are full. Yes, the Altoids mint tin altars. Yes, I talked about this in the recorded session that didn't make it. My entirely muted live stream. So if you haven't seen them before, there's these little travel altars that are literally like made from like those little mint tins. So think like Altoids tins. Some of them are actual Altoids tins. Some of them are just kind of tins around that same size. But if you are fortunate enough to be near any local metaphysical shops, they usually will have at least a couple of these in stock. Check them out. There, you can go online and see what's there. If you can afford them, awesome. If you can't, definitely take a look at them anyway to give you some ideas of some things that can be part of an altar that aren't these big, giant, elaborate things. I have seen one where the little candle that's in there is like this miniature sized birthday candle. So not even the birthday candle, because we talk about that a lot for if you're doing spell work and you're looking for a candle, like just a birthday candle is fine. But this was like a little miniature birthday candle, and I was just like, "Oh my god, that's so cute!" I didn't know candles came that small. Sorry, I get to nerd out on that twice, so I'm excited. But yeah, and again, those trifold or tri-leg table things that are everywhere. Like, careful, don't bump it because the metal bracket does rip apart the wood. It is made of wood, but it just drives me nuts because I'm like, it's not solid wood or it's not strong enough of a wood. It's barely plywood kind of wood. um, but yeah, you can make an altar out of anything. Cardboard box, if you're careful, don't have flame around the cardboard box. Hopefully that more than answered your question because I think I just prattled on about that for like almost 20 minutes. So my apologies. Uh, my sense of timing is now completely disrupted from having to repeat this and repeating it at a just jumping right in time, not a specific like scheduled time. So you're getting all the squirrel brain, no ability to pace at all. There was one other question that I did get to. This is, how do I know when a sign is meaningful versus just pattern seeking? This was a question. Actually, I think Vatanga, I think it was you who asked me this in the chat like a few weeks back. And this question came in. It's not the same, but it's very, very similar. And so with this one, I kind of start off with explaining, like, first of all, pattern seeking, if you don't already know, is when, like, it is a human tendency. It's psychological. I don't even think it's strictly human, but we can only observe it in humans objectively. But we see faces everywhere, right? We look at this is how those Yorkshire tests, where it's just lots of ink, and people will see different shapes and things and images, or like when you're looking up at clouds and you're trying to see things. That's pattern seeking. It is a innate thing we do either consciously or unconsciously where we try to see a pattern in things. Even people who are like, oh my God, I'm terrible at patterns, you still do this. It's still there and it's still an automatic process. Um, and when we're talking about signs, omens, and things like that, we get into this weird habit where our pattern seeking like becomes our tool for trying to seek out signs, trying to make everything mean something, because we want it to mean something. And so that would fall into that pattern seeking. Whereas actual signs, actual omens are, these are those things where I've talked before about synchronicity, right? So those things where it just keeps popping up and it means something to you. It has meaning, it has value. To anybody else, it might come across as a coincidence, but to you, it means something. Um, and so when it comes to signs and omens, yes, there are some forms of divination where you actually sit down and try, like, you're essentially pattern seeking, but you're pattern seeking within this specific framework. So think like scrying, like you're just trying to like see visual images. So it's pattern seeking within visual imagery, but it's not. Pattern seeking might be a skill that's involved, but you're actively trying to divine these things. Um, so this is where signs can come in. But again, within the, now I'm getting a little too and sorry. Words are supposed to come out of this thing. So oh, I'm the tech issues have me all riled up and messed up. Okay. So I'm going to reverse it back a little bit. Within those specific divinations, that is a much more in-depth question that I can answer for these Q&A AMA sessions. It definitely would take a much longer volume to really break that down. Needless to say, there's a reason why there are people who believe that pattern seeking is part of actual, like, finding signs and omens, because divination is a more intentional looking for those signs and omens, whereas pattern seeking is that just unintentional. It's just there. Our brain just do it, right? So when we're trying to make everything be signs, this is where we get into trouble, because then everything appears to be a sign, which makes none of it a sign. You're basically, I had a good analogy earlier and I couldn't, now I can't think of it. But I think I talked about, like, one example was like a bird. Like, if you are sitting there and you're just like, I want everything to be a sign, and then you see a bird and it comes and it picks up a stick and it flies away. And now you're trying to interpret, okay, what does that mean? What does it mean for me? And it's like, what it means is that bird is trying to make a nest so it can make babies, like lay eggs, make babies, and have more birds. That's what that meant. But you are in that pattern seeking, like, I want everything to be a sign. And so now you're going to start to interpret things that aren't, you're wasting all of that cognitive energy to try to force something to be a sign, whether or not it really is a sign. Whereas actual signs, actual omens are just going to come. And so when we talk about be open to them, we don't mean go out and seek them. We mean don't put the blinders on. Like, try to actually open up your awareness. Notice the things around you. Don't go seeking out, what are all the birds doing today? But rather, when a bird does fly by, you notice the fact that a bird flew by. Like, that's that be open. It doesn't necessarily mean that everything you see and come across while you're being open is a sign or omen. But getting more direct into your point of how do I know when a sign is meaningful versus just pattern seeking, it is that kind of, is it synchronistic? Did you see this thing and go, oh my gosh, this really hits me this certain kind of way, and I really feel like this is connected to this other thing? are you able to make sense of it? Does it have meaning for you? Versus the like, oh my god, I really need a sign. I really need a sign. Ooh, is that my sign? I think that's my sign. Like, back off a little bit, let it go. You have to kind of disengage a little with the desire, um, and just be open for the sign to come in, if that makes a little more sense. I feel like I definitely answered this question way better, and I managed to do it in like 2 minutes in the muted session. So I apologize if that was a little bit more rambly, a little less concise. And I'm more than happy to answer this question again. But hopefully that helped to answer the question. All right. So those were the 3 questions that I answered earlier. And for my 2 viewers who were watching me in silence, um, again, I appreciate that you were there and you stuck it out. Also, this is what I was saying, or vaguely what I was saying. These are the questions I was answering. Um, any, let's see, I don't have any other questions that came up in the chat. And I think we've been going for, where's my timer? Yeah, we've managed to go for over 30 minutes, so I definitely rambled a lot. So I'm going to go ahead and get us right into the outro. Okay, for our updates and our reminders. So, as always, any links that I talk about here are going to be in the show notes below. Except for the poll. I'll talk about that when we get to that bullet point. Okay, so first and foremost, of course, please make sure to stay up to date on all the things. Subscribe to my monthly newsletter, the Starlight Circle. It's only one per month because I don't like to harass people in their mailboxes. Now, if you purchase services from me and stuff like that, you might end up with more emails. But the Starlight Circle itself is just a monthly, one-time only, one time per month only email newsletter. You can also enroll in my Tarot 101 with Evylyn Rose. It's completely free, and it will also automatically subscribe you to the newsletter so that you don't have to take that extra step if you don't want to. You can also explore my websites. There is my monthly blog, which I know I'm severely behind on getting that blog post up. I had intended to do that today, and I would be doing that right now. Tech issues and all. So I will definitely be working to make sure that that is up before the end of this week, so be on the lookout for that. There's also the Light Weavers Clearing. That's where all of the on-demand workshops, digital downloads, and that kind of stuff exist. And then my Messages in the Moonlight is a website, completely free information, Wicca witchcraft. I've been working on that thing for over 23 years, so by all means, check that out. Some of your questions that you guys asked me today are actually addressed on that website. So by all means, explore there. If you need help navigating, just reach out, let me know. Internet navigation norms are very different today than when I first started that site. So it's a work in progress. Of course, oh, what did I say? That makes 2 of us. Blog life. Yep. we get around to it. It gets there. I think I might have to change that whole, usually within the first week to the first and or second week of the month is when my blog post comes out. Let's see. So you can follow me on social media. Blue Sky is where I tend to be more active. LinkedIn. Obviously, if you're here watching this right now, whether you're live or on the replay, you're either on Twitch or YouTube, so you already know I'm there. You can also find me on Alignable and pretty much anywhere where you see the name Evylyn Rose spelled Evylyn. That's me. To my knowledge, there's no other Evylyn Rose that spells it this way, and there used to not be any other Evylyn Rose, but that has changed over the years. But my spelling tends to be a little bit unique to it, so please, by all means, if you see me there, if you see it spelled this way, it's likely me. Pop in, say hi. If I'm not there, then I apologize. It's just an old social I don't use anymore. Let's see, upcoming live stream. So again, the lunar lunch breaks are Mondays at 1 p.m. Eastern. Today was a weird exception because of all the tech issues with me staying muted the whole time and not knowing it. So again, apologies for that. For the Saturday session, the Clearing Conversations, I have specified the date on here. So that's going to be Saturday, May 16th at 5 p.m. Eastern. This will be the last time that I will be streaming on Saturdays at 5 p.m. For the foreseeable future as I enter my busy season. This goes to that point about the polls. Please make sure vote in the poll if you have any preferences regarding the live stream schedule. Otherwise, the current likely thing to happen is going to be that the lunar lunch break will just get longer and we just have that one, unless you guys vote in the poll to tell me otherwise. Submit questions ahead of time via email, social, or in person. So if you see me around and you're like, hey, can you answer this? I will happily do so. You'll notice that I don't tend to drop names when I'm answering these questions, and that's because nobody seems to want shout outs anymore. So if you don't want anybody to know your questions or that a question came from you, if you ask me ahead of time, then it stays, I can keep it anonymous unless you ask for a shout out, and then I'm happy to shout it out. If you haven't already, please make sure that you subscribe to this channel. That allows you to know whenever I go live. You should receive a notification. However your notification systems are set up. I'm one of those, I turn notifications off on almost everything. I apologize. It's just, I get I get overwhelmed when my phone goes off every 5 seconds. So no judgment from me if you turn off the notifications, but subscribing does make sure that you at least have a notification feed that you could go back to see when replays have happened. Also, make sure that you like and comment. These are things that help to keep the algorithm aware that this is not just like some random like home video that got uploaded so that it's preserved, but an actual video that would help people. So if it helped you in any small way, please make sure that you like this video. It helps train the algorithms to know what you like, and so you can get more of what you like and need in your life. And it also helps other people to find this and other videos like it. Hopefully that answers all of the things that I say every single time. As always, please reach out if you have any questions, if you need me to clarify anything, and keep radiating hope into the world.